The streets of Charleston were quiet that night. Fog rolled over cobblestones like a soft grey blanket. Lanterns flickered in the wind. Travelers, weary from their journeys, walked carefully. Every step echoed in the silence. No one knew danger waited. Not in the shadows. Not behind the welcoming doors of the city's inns. One inn, in particular, drew visitors like moths to a flame. It seemed ordinary, warm, friendly. But inside, darkness waited. Her name was Lavinia Fisher, a woman no one truly understood. She smiled politely, served food, and greeted guests. But behind her eyes, there was something colder than ice, something deadly. Travelers came seeking rest. Some left in the morning, others never left at all. Whispers spread quickly. Strange illnesses. Sudden deaths. A pattern forming, but no one dared speak it aloud. What kind of woman could hide murder behind a gentle face? What secrets did she keep locked behind her inn's heavy doors? Tonight we step into that darkness. We uncover the truth of Charleston's most infamous female killer. We follow the trail of poison, lies, and fear, and we discover the shocking secrets history tried to erase. The story begins not with scream, but with silence, a silence that swallowed the screams that would soon follow. Charleston in the 1840s was a city of contrasts. Grand mansions lined the streets, their white pillars gleaming in the sun. Merchants sold exotic spices, silks, and rare goods from distant lands. Ships arrived daily, bringing wealth, news, and travelers from faraway places. The city seemed alive with opportunity, trade, and sophistication. Yet beneath the glitter, a darker undercurrent thrived. Crime was common. Pickpockets hid in crowded markets. Robbers lurked near quiet alleyways. Law enforcement was slow, often corrupt, and poorly equipped to handle the city's growing shadows. Fear lingered like the evening fog, creeping into homes, taverns, and inns alike. Travelers were especially vulnerable. They came with pockets full of coins and heads full of trust. Many believed Charleston to be a safe stop on their journey, but the city held secrets few outsiders could imagine. Even among locals, whispers of strange disappearances and sudden illnesses spread quickly and were quickly hushed. People feared gossip could bring trouble, and some stories were so dark they seemed unbelievable. Taverns and inns were hubs of activity. Travelers sought warmth, food, and rest. Local gossip flowed like ale, and deals were made over flickering candlelight. But in these places, opportunity for darkness also thrived. A kind innkeeper could easily become a predator. A polite hostess could hide lethal intentions behind a gentle smile. And that is where Lavinia Fisher entered the story. Locals spoke of her carefully. Some said she was charming, almost too charming. Others noted her quick temper, her sharp eyes that seemed to pierce through visitors. Rumors circulated, travelers who became ill after dining at her inn, guests who vanished without explanation, small details, whispered late at night, that grew into a web of suspicion. Charleston held its secrets close, but shadows stretched long. Every cobblestone street, every flickering lantern, every quiet tavern corner had a story. And no secret was darker than the one hiding behind Lavinia Fisher's welcoming smile. She moved quietly through the city, unnoticed, yet her presence cast a chill in the hearts of those who crossed her path. The city would soon learn that evil could wear a woman's face, smile at strangers, and slip poison into their drinks. And it all began quietly, one unsuspecting traveler at a time. Lavinia Fisher was not born into darkness. Her early life was ordinary, though little is known for certain. She married John Fisher, a man described by neighbors as charming but unpredictable. Together, they moved to Charleston and took over an inn, a modest place that would soon gain an infamous reputation. The Fishers appeared normal. They greeted guests politely. Their inn offered food, warmth, and shelter to weary travelers. On the surface, they were the perfect hosts, but beneath that polite exterior, whispers of something sinister began to circulate. Neighbors noticed strange behaviors. John was often seen leaving at odd hours, carrying small, heavy parcels. Lavinia, they said, seemed fascinated by poisons, herbs, and medicines that could heal or kill. Small incidents fueled the rumors. Travelers growing sick after meals, possessions mysteriously disappearing, the occasional scream heard late at night. Some locals claimed the couple operated like a team. John handled the business side, charming patrons and collecting money. Lavinia prepared meals and drinks, her smile masking her intentions. Together, they formed a deadly partnership that preyed on unsuspecting travelers who had come seeking comfort and safety. Stories of the Fishers were whispered in hushed tones. One neighbor described hearing a guest groaning in pain, only to find the room empty by morning. Another claimed that John would escort travelers to the inn personally, introducing them to Lavinia, whose hospitality seemed warm yet deadly. The inn itself became a character in the story. Its dark corners, creaking floors, and flickering candlelight created the perfect cover for sinister deeds. Guests would never suspect that the safety they sought behind closed doors was an illusion. Even with rumors spreading, fear kept many silent. The Fishers had a way of appearing harmless, almost ordinary, hiding their deadly secrets behind polite smiles and courteous manners. The city of Charleston had no idea the darkness walking its streets had a name. That name was Lavinia Fisher. And soon, the full horror of the Fisher family's deeds would be revealed. It began quietly. A traveler arrived at the Fisher Inn, weary from a long journey, carrying a small bag of coins and dreams of rest. Lavinia greeted them warmly, her smile soft and inviting. The fire crackled in the hearth. Candles flickered on the walls. Everything seemed perfectly normal, but beneath the surface danger waited. Lavinia had learned the art of poison, subtle and precise. One drop could sicken, two could kill. Her knowledge came from herbs, chemicals, and perhaps secrets passed down through dark channels, forbidden to most. Meals were prepared carefully, drinks poured with practiced hands. Guests ate and drank, trusting the warmth and safety of the inn, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, the poison took effect. First a headache, then dizziness, stomach cramps. Some collapsed in pain, others vanished entirely, leaving no trace but their belongings and the faint scent of something bitter in the air. John Fisher was the perfect accomplice. He distracted guests, engaged them in conversation, and ensured no one suspected the deadly trap behind Lavinia's polite hospitality. Together they orchestrated a deadly rhythm. A guest would arrive, a guest would leave, or not leave at all. Whispers began to spread. Travelers told of feeling ill after dining at the inn. Some survived long enough to speak, describing strange tastes, bitter aftertastes, or sudden weakness. But most had no voice left. Their deaths were swift, silent, and efficient. The inn gained a reputation among those who dared speak. People avoided it, crossed the street, whispered warnings, but many still fell into the trap. Money, convenience, and trust outweighed fear, and Lavinia Fisher smiled, her secret hidden behind courteous manners and polite conversation. What made her even more terrifying was her calm. No panic, no hesitation. She treated death like a quiet art. Guests never saw the hand that ended their lives, and for those who did suspect, it was already too late. Charleston would soon learn that evil could hide in plain sight, that a woman behind a warm smile and welcoming hands could orchestrate death with terrifying precision. And the Fisher Inn would become a place whispered about in fear, a place where travelers arrived but many would never leave. Lavinia Fisher's crimes were more than random acts of murder. They were calculated, precise, and terrifyingly clever. Beneath her polite smiles and hospitable gestures lay a mind attuned to the darkest possibilities. She understood poisons, their effects, and how to mask them in food and drink. Every guest was a potential experiment, every meal a test of control. Some historians suggest that Lavinia's knowledge was not common for the time. Herbs, potions, and chemical substances were guarded secrets. The average person would barely understand them. But Lavinia used them with confidence, as if she held forbidden knowledge handed down through shadowed channels. Knowledge that allowed her to manipulate life and death itself. Victims who survived her initial attacks spoke of strange, bitter tastes and sudden weakness. Some claimed the illness came in waves, a cruel, deliberate torment. Others disappeared entirely, leaving nothing behind except belongings and whispers. Each act was a testament to her cunning, a warning that few heeded until it was too late. And yet the Fishers were not careless. They covered their tracks meticulously. No witness could pin down the exact moment of death. No guest could prove foul play. Lawmen had little evidence, and superstition often clouded judgment. People whispered of curses, of God's wrath, of vengeful spirits, but the truth was far more human and far darker. Lavinia and John operated as a deadly team. John's charm disarmed suspicion. Lavinia's knowledge ensured precision. Together they created a cycle of death that terrorized Charleston's travelers. The inn, once a place of rest, became a crucible of fear and suffering. Some documents from the time hint at even deeper secrets. Some suggest that Lavinia may have been connected to a network of criminal minds, sharing knowledge of poison and deception with others who sought to exploit the city's trust. Others propose she kept journals, recipes, or notes, documents that could reveal methods, names, and patterns now lost to history. Whatever the truth, one fact remains undeniable. Lavinia Fisher's crimes were deliberate, sophisticated, and terrifyingly effective. She transformed a woman's role in society, expected to nurture and protect, into a mask for the most forbidden acts imaginable. Charleston's history tried to bury her story, to reduce it to rumor and legend. But the secrets she left behind whisper through the streets even today, reminding us that true evil often wears the gentlest face. The city of Charleston could no longer ignore the whispers. Travelers continued to vanish. Fear spread, turning curiosity into dread. Finally, suspicion focused on one place, the Fisher Inn. Authorities arrived cautiously. John and Lavinia greeted them with polite smiles. Their demeanor was calm, almost rehearsed, as if the very walls of the inn had trained them for this moment. But behind the smiles lay unease. The law was closing in. The search revealed shocking evidence: hidden bottles of poison, strange powders, food prepared with lethal precision. Every item told a story of careful planning. The Fishers had underestimated the city's resolve. The shadows that had protected them began to crumble. The arrest sent shockwaves through Charleston. Neighbors who had whispered rumors now told their stories openly. Accounts of illness, sudden death, and strange disappearances came pouring out. The scale of Lavinia's crimes became horrifyingly clear. The trial was a spectacle. The courtroom overflowed with citizens, eager to witness justice for those who could no longer speak. Witnesses described the Fishers' cunning. Travelers recounted faint memories of bitter drinks, sudden weakness, and shadowy figures in the inn. Despite the mounting evidence, Lavinia maintained her calm. Her composure unnerved everyone. The court saw a polite, well-spoken woman, yet behind that mask lay the architect of death. John, equally composed, offered charm where his wife offered precision. Together they faced a city's wrath. Testimonies painted a chilling picture: death delivered with care, a family united in terror, an inn transformed into a silent execution chamber. Each story deepened the suspense. Every revelation sent shivers through the courtroom. And yet questions lingered. Had they acted alone? Were there other victims hidden in plain sight? Was Charleston safe once more? Or had the shadows merely shifted, waiting for the next unsuspecting traveler? The verdict was inevitable. The city demanded justice, and justice demanded an end. The Fishers' reign of terror, carefully hidden behind polite smiles and polished manners, would come to a dramatic close. But even as the gavel fell, a lingering unease remained. The darkness that had claimed Charleston's travelers was not so easily forgotten. The memory of Lavinia Fisher, her forbidden knowledge, and her shocking secrets would haunt the city for decades to come. The day of execution arrived with grim certainty. Charleston's streets were crowded with spectators, their faces tense with anticipation. Rumors of the Fisher family's crimes had spread far beyond the city, and curiosity mingled with horror. People wanted to witness justice, and perhaps the final glimpse of a woman who had turned hospitality into death. Lavinia Fisher remained calm. Her composure unnerved the crowd. Some claimed her eyes held a spark of defiance, as if she alone understood the secret patterns of life and death. John Fisher, equally stoic, followed her silently. Together they ascended the steps to the gallows, shadows stretching long beneath the midday sun. The execution was swift. No screams, no pleading, only the heavy silence of inevitability. The crowd gasped, whispered, and some even cheered. Charleston had claimed closure, Yet an uneasy chill lingered. Even in death, Lavinia's presence haunted the city. Stories circulated of travelers who had survived the inn, still plagued by nightmares and strange illnesses. Locals spoke of seeing her figure near the inn at night, a shadow behind candlelight, smiling from the darkness. Whether apparition or imagination, the legend of Lavinia Fisher refused to die. Her legacy was more than terror. It was a lesson in the hidden darkness that could exist behind polite manners, in familiar places, and within those who seemed ordinary. The city learned that evil could wear a gentle face, charm unsuspecting victims, and vanish into the shadows before anyone suspected. Over time, the Fisher Inn was abandoned. Its walls crumbled, its rooms empty, yet the memory of its deadly history persisted. Tourists later spoke of cold drafts, eerie sounds, and glimpses of figures that should not exist. Charleston had tried to bury the story, but some secrets refused to be silenced. Lavinia Fisher became more than a criminal. She became a cautionary tale, a shadow that looms over history. Her dark knowledge, her shocking secrets, and her mastery of poison left a mark that time could not erase. The city may have moved on, but the echoes of her deeds continue to haunt every dark corner, every quiet street, every unsuspecting traveler who walks through Charleston's fog. Even decades after her death, Lavinia Fisher's story refused to fade. Charleston whispered her name in hushed tones. Tourists and locals alike told tales of strange happenings around the old Fisher Inn. Cold drafts in summer, unexplained sounds at night, and fleeting shadows in abandoned rooms, all attributed to her lingering presence. Some claim to have seen her ghostly figure near the inn, dressed in 19th-century clothing, her eyes scanning for travelers who might wander too close. Others reported the faint smell of bitter herbs, the same that once delivered death to her victims. Every story carried the same chilling message: the past never truly dies. Folklore painted Lavinia in multiple shades. To some, she was a monster, a cunning murderer who relished in her deadly art. To others, she was a dark genius, a woman ahead of her time, using forbidden knowledge to manipulate the unsuspecting. These myths blurred the line between history and legend, truth and fear. Even modern paranormal investigators took interest. Cameras captured unexplained lights. Recordings picked up faint whispers. Skeptics dismissed these claims, but the stories persisted, growing with each retelling. Lavinia Fisher became more than a historical figure. She became a symbol of shadowed cunning, a ghostly reminder of the hidden dangers in everyday life. Her legend spread far beyond Charleston. Books, articles, and documentaries retold her crimes, emphasizing the shocking secrets she kept. Each retelling added layers of mystery and horror, ensuring that new generations would hear her story and feel the same chill that gripped those who once walked into her inn. The dark allure of Lavinia Fisher lies not only in her crimes, but in what they reveal about human nature. Fear, curiosity, trust, and deception, all intertwined. And though she lived in the 19th century, her story resonates today, reminding us that evil can be polite, measured, and impossible to predict. Charleston's streets still hum with whispers. Travelers still sense the shadow of the past. And Lavinia Fisher, the deadly lady of secrets, continues to haunt the imagination. Proof that some legends never die. History remembers Lavinia Fisher as Charleston's first known female serial killer. But what if the story we know is only the surface? What if the true extent of her crimes and the knowledge she possessed was deliberately buried? Lavinia's mastery of poison was no accident. In the 19th century, poisons were considered dangerous, forbidden knowledge. The recipes, the techniques, the precise timing required to take life without detection, these were skills hidden from ordinary citizens. Few women, if any, could wield them with the deadly precision Lavinia demonstrated. Some historians suggest that Lavinia may have been part of a secret network, exchanging forbidden techniques with others who sought power and profit. Others hint at journals or coded notes that chronicled every victim, every method, and every manipulation. These documents have never surfaced. Were they destroyed, hidden, or perhaps still waiting to be discovered? Even the trial leaves unanswered questions. Witnesses spoke of her skill, yet the full scope of her operations was never documented. Did she have more victims than reported? Were there accomplices beyond John Fisher? Charleston's authorities may have had reasons to suppress certain details, fearing panic or scandal. Beyond the crimes themselves, Lavinia's story reveals a societal truth. A woman of her time was expected to nurture, to care, to be harmless. She shattered that expectation. By mastering forbidden knowledge, she turned trust into a weapon and domesticity into a death trap. In doing so, she became more terrifying and more fascinating than history admits. Modern investigators and historians continue to debate her legacy. Some dismiss legends of hidden networks and secret manuals as exaggeration. Others argue that the gaps in historical records are too significant to ignore. Whatever the truth, one fact remains. Lavinia Fisher possessed knowledge that was dangerous, precise, and deliberately concealed. Knowledge that allowed her to manipulate life and death in ways few could understand. Charleston may have hung her body, but it could not hang the truth. The shadows of her knowledge remain, whispering through the city's streets, through the pages of forgotten records, and through the chilling tales that still echo in the minds of those who dare to explore the dark corners of history. The forbidden knowledge she wielded is a reminder. Some secrets are too dangerous, too powerful, and too shocking to be fully revealed. Lavinia Fisher's story ends with a gallows, a silent crowd, and the fading echo of justice, yet her legacy refuses to remain silent. Charleston's streets, its old inns, its shadowed corners, they all whisper her name. She was more than a murderer. She was a master of forbidden knowledge, a woman who turned trust into terror, a reminder that evil can hide behind smiles, in places we least suspect, and in those we least fear. We think of history as a teacher, a record of truth, but sometimes history hides what it fears the most: the names, the methods, the secrets that reveal the darker side of humanity. These are tucked away, forgotten, or erased. Lavinia Fisher's story survived because it was too shocking, too disturbing to ignore. Ask yourself, could someone like her exist today? Could darkness still lurk behind the doors we trust? Perhaps the past is not as distant as we think. Perhaps shadows from centuries ago still linger, reminding us that terror is timeless. Charleston tried to bury her story, tried to reduce it to rumor and ghost tales, yet here we are reading, listening, and remembering. Her life and her crimes demand reflection. They force us to confront the uncomfortable truth that evil can be intelligent, patient, and disguised in the most ordinary of faces. And so the story of Lavinia Fisher lives on, not only as a tale of murder and poison, but as a chilling reminder. Some secrets cannot be buried, some shadows refuse to fade, some knowledge, shocking, forbidden, terrifying, remains, waiting for the brave, the curious, or the unwary to discover it. The next time you trust a stranger or step into an unfamiliar inn, remember her name. Remember the deadly smile behind the polite greeting. And remember the shadow of Lavinia Fisher, Charleston's most infamous female killer, whose secrets still haunt history itself.